I tried to fight the feeling took me down.
I guess my career as a musician started in the late 80s, probably around 1988, something like that. So I went to work at the local newspaper in Bradford, the Telegraph and Argus, just as like a runner boy. While I was there, I met this guy who worked in the editorial art department, but he was also a musician, and he got a band going and asked me if I wanted to come and try out in his band. And within 18 months we'd signed a record deal with Chrysalis Records, and we were called Poppy Factory. So we're kind of at the age of 21. I thought I was like living the dream. 18 months later we were dropped by the label. It all went crazy. Like the first single had got like single of the week in the NME. And then in no time at all, the whole music industry decided that we were dreadful and that we should just go away. So a few years after the Poppy Factory thing, Dave Creffield had got Embrace in a studio in Huddersfield called Beaumont Street Studios. And they were recording this song called All You Good Good People, and I got the phone call from Dave Creff at about, I don't know, like 7 o'clock one night saying, Mickey, I've got Embrace in, they've got this song and they want it to sound like the Beatles, A Day in the Life. They want like masses of bloody orchestration on it. Do you want to get involved? And I said, yeah, it sounds great. It sounds like a good challenge. You know, like, when do you want me? He was just like, can you come now? So I jumped in my little car and drove over to Huddersfield, and they signed a record deal soon after with Virgin Records in London, and they took me down to sort of like, I wasn't in the band, but they always wanted me to tag on, so I didn't feel like I was missing out on things. And I still got all my own musical projects going on at that time, but Embrace became so busy. I did all the string arrangements on their first album, The Good Will Out, which went to number 1. And I was doing so much travelling with them that in the end they just said, look, this is ridiculous. You're gonna have to join our band, but we want all of you. We don't want you just kind of carrying on with all these other projects, because you're not going to have, we want full commitment kind of thing. We were asked in 2006, after sort of like we'd had, Embrace had 3 number 1 albums, and then we were approached by the FA. They asked us if we wanted to get involved in doing the official World Cup song, which was actually probably one of the most ridiculous things we've ever got involved in. And if anybody ever asked us to do something like that again, we would say, like, just absolutely no way. There were people at our record company who works in the marketing department who thought it was the most amazing idea ever. And the fact that the FA had approached us pretty much meant that, you know, we didn't have to pitch for it. It was like it was going to be nailed on. But the downside of getting involved in the World Cup song was that everybody decided that we were everywhere. You couldn't turn on the TV or open a tabloid newspaper without Embrace this, Embrace that. To the point where Danny, our singer, thought he was going to have to get a bodyguard. It was just like crazy. By the time it got to the end of 2006, we were all like burnt out, because there'd been so much touring, not just in the UK, we'd been around Europe a couple of times. We'd done all the festivals, we'd done 2 sold out Embrace tours, we'd done 2 nights in Millennium Square in Leeds, which was like 7,000 people a night. And we went out on a high. We finished our tour at the end of 2006 and thought, we're actually going to make some money this year. Why don't we all just have like a few months off? The year 2000, Embrace released Drawn From Memory, our second album. And we played 2 consecutive nights at the Tower Ballroom in Blackpool. Both nights sold out. It was great. And one of the bands that were supporting us on the first night was this little band called Coldplay. They were big fans of Embrace. They're like, you guys inspired us to start a band and all this kind of stuff. Danny, our singer in Embrace, and Chris Martin hit it off especially well and kept in touch from then until now. In 2017, Danny got in touch with Chris Martin and said, look, we're making a little Embrace documentary. How would you feel about like just giving us 5 minutes of your time and talking about the band? And Chris said, I need to ask you guys something as well. Coldplay are playing 2 nights at Cardiff Principality Stadium, 60,000 people a night, and we want you guys to be the support band. And it was amazing. And it was amazing that Chris had been so humble that he was basically saying, it's payback. You guys gave us a gig at Blackpool back in 2000 when we were starting out, and nobody would give us any help at all. Back in March, we released our 7th studio album called Love Is a Basic Need. And musically, it kind of feels like we've gone full circle. If we're in the studio and we were working on a song and we just kind of thought, I'm not really feeling this one, I'm not really getting this song at all, we'd be like, fine. You know, in years gone by, we would have just battled and spent 2 weeks on the song and probably got no further with it. But yeah, it was all about the songs. And I think that's why it feels like we've kind of gone right round to where we started in 1996.